Marriage, years 1 through 5. Let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Easley.
And I'm Rodney Easley.
And welcome to our channel, Not Easily Broken. So we want to welcome you today. And today we want to talk about the first 5 years of marriage.
Yes.
That's supposed to be the blissful time. You know, you're all in love. You just celebrated your wedding day, and just all these things that people say you're never gonna not want to be next to this person. I love you so much, and it's so mushy, and just all these things that they talk about in the first 5 years. But the first 5 years are also your transition period into learning each other and becoming one, and learning how this person functions on a day-to-day basis, and what they do and what they don't do, and what they like and what they don't like. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it, because I think a lot of people see us now, and they have a misconception that we've always got along.
Yes, they do.
No.
They think we always been like this.
No. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So some of the things that we wrote down to talk about. Okay, so for us, the first 5 years of our marriage, we had 2 babies.
Mm-hmm.
We bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
We had the death of 2 parents.
Yep.
So by the time we celebrated our 5-year anniversary, we had 4 children.
Yes.
So looking back, that's not easy. That was a lot of life-changing situations that happened.
Well, going back, when we got married, I had 2 children of my own. Mm-hmm. So we came in having children already.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about blended families too, but at a later time.
Yeah.
We're going to get a little bit deeper into that blended family thing, because we know that a lot of couples have that. You know, if you get married later, and not necessarily always later, because we were married by the time I was 25.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't like a late marriage, but he already had kids.
Yes.
And so we will get into that blended family thing again later on. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of misconceptions, like he said. People see us now and they think, oh, they don't ever think we had trouble in paradise.
So let's talk about year 1. And we have to think back, because it's been a long time. Mm-hmm. Year 1, we moved into an apartment. Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to be the honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
But for us, not so much.
Yeah.
Because we had already moved in together to
mm-hmm.
save money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of ruined the honeymoon thing.
Yeah. And we had kids.
Yeah.
You worked 2 jobs at that time. Mm-hmm. We had 1 car.
Right.
So all those things kind of just added to the stress of a new family.
Right.
We were a new family.
Right.
So
what should have been a time where me and her was just still honeymooning, getting to know each other, it became a time of, we got this automatic family. Mm-hmm. We got automatic pressure of raising kids. Mm-hmm. And we got financial debt or financial responsibility that we need to work on and do. So I had to work 2 jobs at the time, which took away from our time together, because I'm at work. And then when I got home, what am I? I'm tired. Yeah. So no time for me and her on the first year.
So let's talk about learning how to be a husband and wife. Okay, so let's talk about transitioning into being husband and wife. Mm-hmm. And Rodney and I both were raised in single parent homes. And so we didn't necessarily have an example of what a married couple is supposed to look like. Now, everybody has their own, how they order their home and what the roles of the husband and the wife are in the home, but both of us watched single moms.
Yeah.
You know, I had my father, but my father lived somewhere else, and so he was a weekend parent. Um, and for you,
my father wasn't around.
okay.
Right? He popped in and out every so often, but for the most part, he was there. He was an absent parent.
So for us, we had to learn how to be husband and wife.
Yeah.
You know, our faith plays a huge role in our lives. And so we had to watch other people be married. Mm-hmm. And we both have, you know, mentors in our church that we looked at and learned how to be husband and wife. You know, we watch how they interact with each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we learned how to be husband and wife. But that's difficult. Yeah. You know, it's a hard thing to not have an example before you, and then all of a sudden you're placed in this role and now you have to do it.
Yeah, it's real tough. And you know, because we're raising kids and trying to make sure that we have enough for our household, even though we both were believers, mm-hmm. faith played a role in it. That kept us together, kept us to continue to work on it. We still had, because we're human, we still had a lot of stress. Yeah. We still had baggage that hadn't been dealt with, mm-hmm. coming from single family homes. Yeah. And so we had a lot of issues to work out through the first 5 years.
Yeah, and I think having single moms raise you, it makes your focus on kids. Yeah. So our focus was not on each other, right. as husband and wife. Right. Our focus was being good parents and making sure that our kids was okay.
And for me, who had an absent father, mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be there for my children. Mm-hmm. And I think I did that to a fault, because I focused so much on being there for them. There was times that I wasn't there for Michelle.
Yeah. And you know, that's something that you know, we've been married now. We just celebrated 26 years, yeah. And those are things that we have learned, but we honestly didn't know, you know, in our first 5 years of marriage. Rodney mentioned that we already had kids, so he had 2 children already. So coming into that, it was like, okay, so I had to learn what my place was, mm-hmm. in their lives. And for us, you know, I have really been blessed that it was an easy transition for me, mm-hmm. because their mother wasn't around. So it wasn't a whole lot of struggle in that area. Now, there was some, and like I said, we'll get into that in a different episode, but there wasn't a lot of struggle because we weren't co-parenting at that time. Mm-hmm. It was he and I. We were the parents, yeah. And that was it. But when you have kids already, and so now that our kids are grown, you know, Rodney and I, we'll pack up and leave in a second, yeah. You know, or we'll go do stuff. You know, the kids will come home. We still have 2 that live here. They'll come home and we're gone. And it's because we tell everybody that we never had time alone. Yeah. We didn't have time, just me and him. And so because of that, now, you know, people are like, well, you guys are never at home, or y'all always doing something. But that's why. Yeah. Because we didn't get to bond, right. The 2 of us.
Right. And we was the house that everybody dropped their kids off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everybody else, while they was having fun, we was watching their kids. Yeah. We go to church, we come home with a car full of kids that, yeah. wasn't ours.
And that's the truth. So for real.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And it was good because, you know, I always said that God used our house for what some kids needed. Yeah. And so it was all good, but that's why we do so much now. It's because we didn't have, and when we travel now, we like traveling with other couples, but we have a good time just he and I, because we never had that. Yeah. You know, and so it's, yeah. different now.
So year 1 was a whirlwind. Yeah. And so now let's get into year 2. Now year 2, at this time we had Joshua, mm-hmm. and we just bought the house. Mm-hmm. So let's get into that.
And 2 weeks after Joshua was born, my mom was diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
So in the midst of us being excited about being new homeowners, you know, we have our 3rd child. it was a lot to deal with. You know, my mom stayed here with us for a little while, so I'm grateful that I had a home, you know, for her to come to. And she was able to stay here and spend time with us and spend time with the kids. But it was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
It was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of stress. I'm an only child.
Yeah.
And my mother and I were very close. Yeah. So it was hard. It was really, really hard.
Yeah. So picture this, guys. She's going to work. She has 3 kids. She has 3 kids that she has to deal with when she gets home from work. Because we got homework. Joshua's in diapers. And she's caring for her mother. There were some things that her mother just couldn't do no more. Yeah. So that was a lot because I wasn't there. I'm working 2 jobs.
Yeah. So it was, our first 5 years. I mean, I think when we sat down and really like put it on paper, it was like, wow, how did we even make it through? Right. You know, with so many different things happening at the same time. So that was year 2. My mom died in 99.
Right.
So we had been in this house. So it was right after, not too long after Joshua's first birthday.
Yep.
So we had been in this house. When we moved in this house, he was 4 months old. So we had been here for a year, a little bit more than a year, or right at a year, or it would have been a year that October. She died in September. Yeah. So the first 2 years, I mean, did we have time at all to spend together?
The first 2 years, we didn't even get a chance to take a breath.
Yeah, exactly. And then here comes year 3.
There comes year 3. Oh, it gets better, guys.
Yeah, so year 3, 9 months after my mother passes, my father passes. And I was pregnant with our last child when my father passed. So, again, we are just in the midst of so much going on in our personal lives that we didn't have time. We still did not have time to focus on our marriage. And so, because there was no time to focus on our marriage was not good. Yeah. Our marriage was not good. We were not in a good place. I always say I'm grateful that Rodney was my husband because he's strong. And even though we were not in a good place as a couple necessarily, not that kind of strong. We were not in a good place as a couple necessarily, but he always had my back. Yeah. Like, if I needed him to step in front of me to handle something, he would. Yeah. And so even though we weren't in a good place as a couple, as far as our own relationship, you know, we would take care of our kids. He handled the bills. We, if I needed him to, like I said, step in front of me for something, he was there. Yeah. But us as a couple, we were failing.
Yeah, we was definitely going the opposite direction because, you know, emotionally, I just wasn't there for her. I could do tasks, and I couldn't understand, even though I sympathized because I loved their parents. I had a great relationship with both of them. But I never been through that. Yeah. So I didn't know how to be there for her emotionally. You know, I just tried to make sure I kept the house going, you know, and, you know, I didn't understand the grieving process as a young man. And, you know, because for me, the household that I grew up in, you just kind of keep moving. Yeah. You know, you don't take time to grieve. You just handle your business and you keep on going, and you never really deal with your issues. Yeah. So
then that takes us into our communication styles and conflict resolution. And so that was a struggle because he just said the type of household he was raised in. And for me, you know, my mother was a in-your-face type of person. So we gonna handle this today, right here, right now. And so we had to learn, and it was a struggle for a long time. I'm not even gonna lie and say that after the first couple years, then we was good and we got it, because we didn't. Right. We struggled in that area for a long time, and even to this day, we have moments where we have to remember that we communicate different.
Yeah. She's the type of person that she wants to deal with it right then and there. I'm the type of person where I need some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And early on in our marriage, she wasn't giving me no time. She said, "No, we're gonna talk about it now." And I'm like, "No, we not. Now you can talk. I'm not gonna tell you nothing."
And that's exactly what would happen. I would just be going, just talking. And he wouldn't say nothing. He wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't say nothing. So I had to learn, like, I need to step away because he needs time. But he had to learn that we got to come back together.
Now it's on me. When she decide, okay, I'm going to give you that time, now it's on me to do the right thing and come back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's difficult because, again, it's two people coming together from two completely different backgrounds, you know, and I'm not going to say the way that I handled it was right, because it wasn't. Because, honestly, me making him not making him talk, but trying to make him talk, just created more conflict between us. It made him shut down even more.
The more she tried to make me talk, the more I'd be like,
Yeah. So, and that's not good, you know, because nothing was being solved. And if I'm honest, did I really want to resolve it, or did I want to fight? I probably wanted to fight. So we had to learn how to communicate with each other. And for me, I had to learn, like I said, to give him space. When we having a conflict, if he tells me, I don't want to talk about this right now, I need to give him that space.
Yeah. And
then he had to learn to come back.
I gotta come back.
Yeah. You can't just push it under the rug and pretend like we not mad no more and we just gonna go on. No, we gotta come back. Because for me, I needed the resolution. Yeah. Like, he needs it too, but
yes,
I needed the resolution.
It has to be resolved.
Yeah.
It's just I can't always resolve it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm upset.
Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. You know, we just had to learn that.
Okay, so now let's talk about year 4 and 5. We've been married 3 years. We bought the house. We've experienced death of her parents.
Birth of 2 children.
The birth of 2 children. And so now we are in year 4 and 5. So 4 and 5 was still rough, because Michelle's dealing with grief. I am too, because like I said, I was very close to both her parents. Yeah. And so we're both dealing with grief in our own way, separately. And not having conversations about it, because in my house, we just didn't talk about it. But now, Michelle really didn't have a chance to grieve, neither did I, because we got the children. And we got to move on. Yeah. And what we keep hearing is, "Oh, you guys are so strong. Michelle, you're so strong." You know? And so what began to happen is Michelle became strong for her aunts. They calling her because they're grieving. Yeah. Not thinking about what she's going through. They just saying, "You being strong." And so there was no time to slow down and just take a breath about what then took place. Because even though we lost our 2 parents, we lost a total of 6.
Yeah, there was a lot of other deaths.
Yeah, 6 family members in about 2-year span. Yeah. So we was dealing with that, but now our kids is playing sports.
Yeah. So then we just became busy parents.
Yeah.
So we are, again, focused on the kids, not focused on us, our relationship. We just focused on the kids. We focused on being the best parents that we could be, and not focusing on being a good husband and a good wife.
Yeah.
Because we put ourselves on the back burner, and a lot of people do that. A lot of people put themselves and their marriage and their needs, the spouse's needs on the back burner because the kids require attention right now. They're going to demand the attention that they need, and so we have to handle it. And so that's what we did.
And we think the kids don't know.
Right.
Or don't feel something.
Yeah.
They may not know it exactly or verbatim, but they know something's going on because emotionally we're not there.
Right.
So I would say you definitely need to deal with your own stuff.
Yeah.
In order for, like I said, in order for your children to be okay.
Yeah.
You know. So.
We had to, one of the things that we put is learning about sacrifice and learning how to not be selfish and be considerate of the other person. Now, like I said, we got married younger, so it wasn't like we were years and years of singleness before we got married, but I do think that we were not considerate of each other. You know, we were, again, all focused on the kids, and so we had to learn how to consider each other, how to not be selfish with our time, how, you know, he's at work. Yeah. So when he comes home, he's tired and he's like, you know, just let me have some space and, you know, do me for a minute. And I'm like, well, we've been here, and the kids is like, where's dad? You know, and so you need to jump in, you know, and so we had to learn how to consider the other person. Yeah. Because that's difficult when you just are selfish and you just think about what you're going through and how you feel. And again, for me, being in the midst of grief, all this grief, it was like, well, I just need to check out. And I'm sure, and I've told my older daughter this because she has children, every mother at some point is like, I just want to run away and not come back. I just want to go. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive and I'm going to leave. Yeah. And I'll see y'all later. Y'all handle it. Do what you need to do for you. And I'll be back later when I feel better.
Yeah. And as a man, as men, you know, our thing is to provide. Look, I'm working on this thing. You can handle that. But we're not considering, hey, she was working too. Right. So it wasn't like she wasn't working. She's working and she's taking care of the kids and she's getting them to practice when I'm not there. So I was being inconsiderate about that. But I think one of the biggest things that gave us the problem is not being able to communicate with each other in terms of what we need from each other, right?
Yeah.
Because that could turn into an argument.
Right.
So we just didn't do it.
Yeah. And it turned into an argument. Why? Because we weren't considering the other person's feelings.
Right.
You know, for me, it was like, well, I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Right. And for him, he's like, well, I'm working and I'm providing. And so you have to learn how to see it from the other person's perspective, you know, and when you don't do that, then it causes conflict.
Yeah. So, guys, that was the first 5 years of our marriage. Yeah. It was a blur.
Right.
It was a blur, and it wasn't the best 5 years. I would say that for sure. But because of our faith, it made us stay around and continue to try. Yeah. You know, when we got married, both of her, and I tell her this all the time, both of her uncles married us. And her, one of her uncles, when he prayed for us, he said, Lord, when trouble come, keep them together. I've never forgot that because God has been faithful in doing that. Yeah. He's been faithful.
Changing your mindset from single to married.
That's a big one.
So one thing which is funny now is when we, like Rodney said, we lived together first. And so when we all moved into the same household, that wasn't something hard for him. Like we are a family now. And one friend in particular was like, you cannot pop up over my house because I'm here with my family.
You know who you are.
And this person, stop it. This person popped up at the house and was outside ringing the doorbell. And Rodney was like, I told you don't do that. You cannot pop up over my house. I have a family now. And so you can't do that. So I could say with that, he was really good about that. And something my father used to tell me is that married people need married friends.
Yeah.
You can't be married hanging out with a bunch of single people
Yeah.
because that's just asking for trouble. And it's, and so he didn't go out, Rodney didn't really go out a lot without me and stuff like that. So that wasn't a really necessarily an issue for us, but it is in a lot of marriages. It's changing that mindset from, okay, now I'm not single, especially if you get married later in life. It's not all about me anymore. Mm-hmm. Now I have to share. Now I have to, talk about finances with somebody else.
Yeah.
I need to run this by them or whatever, however you want to say it. People nowadays, especially when we don't like to say, I got to ask my husband, right. We don't like to say that.
Right.
But however you say it, run it by him, however you want to say it, you need to discuss what you doing. You need to discuss. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But you need to discuss what you're doing with somebody else. You can't just not come home after work and it's hours and hours and you haven't said, hey, I'm wherever I am, you know. So
yeah, I think compromise plays a big role in marriage.
Yes.
Because you got two individuals that were raised totally different, mm-hmm. or they may have been similar, but there are some things that are different.
Right.
Now they're coming together. Mm-hmm. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
I'm going to share this story time. When we first got together, the way I was raised is, if you take a shower, you step on the bath mat and you dry yourself off. Michelle was highly pissed about that because that's not what they did.
Right.
The rug is part of the decor, the decoration. It's not to be used practically. So I'm like, what is it for? You take a shower, you get out and you dry yourself off. No. So guys, is that worth fighting?
Right. That's a little thing.
I mean, that's
the funny thing is I don't even remember being that mad about it, but obviously because all these years later he still remembers.
She was upset because she didn't want to step on that wet mat.
Yeah, that's nasty.
So long story short, guys, is I now dry off inside the shower. It's just, you gotta pick your battles, as they say. So that's not worth fighting about. So
that is funny. And okay, so now I'm gonna give you a story about you. He used to get so mad because I did not know north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, right.
He used to get so upset, and I'm like, just tell me where to turn. Turn at the 7-Eleven on this street. Don't tell me to go east, go west, go north, go south. He was getting so upset. So I learned. And how I learned was the beach. I know which way we live, where we live, in relation to that. So I learned. And so again, like you said, you pick your battles. Like it wasn't a big deal to me, but it was to him. Just like the rug wasn't a big deal to him, but it was to me. So you choose your battles. I mean, you can't fight about everything. Everything can't be, I'm going to take a stand about this.
Right.
But that's funny.
Yeah, that was funny. And listen, because she used to get lost. This is before GPS, guys.
Right, yeah. And I could not read a Thomas guide at all.
Yeah.
And he was all about that.
Yeah. She couldn't read a Thomas guide. I don't know.
The last thing let's bring about, learning about each other's family traditions. Mm-hmm. So my family did Thanksgiving and 4th of July. 4th of July was here.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving was up north. And so for me, because I grew up doing that, it was like, oh, we doing that. I want my kids to experience it. I want you to experience it. This is so much fun. This is so important to me. We are doing that. And so for 4th of July, everybody would come and we had a house. So our house would be wall to wall people. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be people sleeping everywhere. And I can't say that I ever was like, are you okay with this, Rodney? It was just like, this is what we do. And it's all good.
I think, you probably didn't never ask because I never acted like it was a problem.
Yeah.
Because I actually loved it myself, coming from a small family. Michelle's family is very large on her mom and dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
And so me coming from a small family, I didn't get to experience that. So it was all good to me. So,
but you still should. I should have asked.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're married.
Yeah.
And I should have asked. Yeah. And then going up north, it was like, I would be upset. Like, if we was like, oh, we might not be able to go. You know, if you said that to me, I was like, no, we gotta go.
Yeah.
We gotta go. So, learning how to compromise in that, and learning that, you know, now there's our family, there's my family, there's his family. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's going to want to do some things with his family. I'm going to want to do some things with my family. We have started our own traditions with our own family. Yeah. But it's learning how to work through those things. Like, I can't say, no, this is how we do it in my family and this is what we're going to do. And he can't say that as well. Yeah. We have to figure out what works for us. Right. And we have to learn how to compromise. So there were some years that we didn't go. Mm-hmm. And yes, I was sad. I'm not gonna say I was mad. I was sad because it was something that was important to me. Yeah. But then we started to build our own traditions, and you know, Rodney's mother is getting older now, so I get that. Like, I understand that he wants to do things with his mom. He wants to spend time with his mom. So, what kind of wife would I be to say no? We gotta go out of town. Yeah. You know, for him to not spend time with his mom. So it's just learning, you know, learning how to compromise. I think as we wrap it up, the first 5 years are supposed to be a learning time, a growth time. You know, it's supposed to be a time that as a couple you get to know each other. Yeah. You get to learn each other's habits. You get to figure out what works for your family. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say this in wrapping it up, though. I think for people that's going to get married, you should have deep conversations about things that could be a problem in your marriage, things that you're not willing to compromise. Yeah. I think marriage counseling is a good tool to use because sometimes you need that third person, right? That neutral person, right? And you guys can, you know, hash certain things out because, again, two individuals raised in two different households. Yeah. And some things you may not be able to work out amongst yourselves. Yeah. So I would definitely encourage for those that are getting married, even those that are married, we've been through counseling a few times. Yeah. I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah, so. Because some things you do, like he said, you need a neutral person. You need someone that's looking from the outside. Mm-hmm. That can say, hey, this is what I hear you saying, this is what I hear you saying, and help you to work it out.
Help you to navigate. Yeah. So with that, guys, that is our first 5 years. Yes. See how easy that was?
But look at us now. Yeah. You know, yeah, we made it. We made it.
So with that, guys, we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.